Hi, I'm Matt from Makerble, the impact tracking platform that makes it very easy for you as a big local area to evidence the difference that you're making in the world. This tour shows you how you can use Makerble to very easily log every project that you've got and start collecting basic information about the number of activities you're doing, who's involved, share that with your other members of your big local area, and also potentially report it back to the local trust as well. You'll see how easy it is to use, and you don't need to be an expert on using software or technology or apps or anything like that. Enjoy the tour, and if you have any questions, just contact me or someone on the team using the details that are in the bottom of this YouTube video. Let's get started. Great! So in this tour I'll show you just how easy it is to start using Makerble to track the difference that you're making. So you go to makerble.com and you'll arrive on this page. Once you're there, click on sign up. Now to sign up you just put in your name, so put in my name, Makerble 9@makerble.com. You put in the email address twice just to make sure you haven't made a mistake first time, and then you put in a password. As long as it's got 8 characters, then that's okay. And then it's really helpful on Makerble to have a picture, just because it makes the site much more enjoyable to use and you can see who's who. So there we go, I've signed up and now I've got my name in this top right corner. Now let's say I'm the person at my big local area who is responsible for getting Makerble set up. Then all I need to do is just press this Find or Create Your Charity button. And here, I'll type in the name of my big local area. So let's go with big local, Peckham, UK, organisation type. It's a group of people, so let's stick in that. But you can choose another category and you can change this whenever you want. I'll tick to agree to the terms and conditions, they're very straightforward. And then press Make New Organisation. Now I'm on my organisation's basic profile page. I'm not going to put in the description right now, you could always do that later, or the address of where our office is. I might just put in my phone number so that someone at the Makerble team can get in touch with me if they need to. If there was a logo for my big local area, I could attach that. For the purpose of this example, we're just going to choose a picture of my co-founder Annabelle, and we'll just assume that that's the logo for now. And you can put in like the Facebook page of the big local area as well. Again, these kind of things are not essential to do right away at the beginning, but if you want to, then you can. Now I'll press next, and we've created my organisation, Big Local Peckham. So in Makerble now we've got the home, projects, my name, and in pink there's this Make a Project button. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start by creating our first project. So I click that, and let's say the first project that we're running is trips for elderly people and young people, because we're trying to do work across the generations. So I'll put that in. The address of where that project is based, I can stick that, so I'll just put Peckham. And a description, just so that I can easily remember this and other people can. I'll say, we run monthly trips to areas of natural beauty across the UK. And I can put a longer description as well if I want to, but we'll hold off for now. Again, I can add a picture and add my colleagues, but for now I'll just keep it simple and put in that information. So what Makerble's doing now is creating that project. We didn't assign a picture to it, so you've just got this blue image. But now on that project we can begin to think about, well, how do we start recording the difference that we're making? That project has a project page, and this is that project page. It's like Trips for Elderly. It says the organisation it's part of, it's led by me, and at the moment we're not tracking any information, but you can see that there's this button, Add Impact Badges to your project, which would let me decide what I wanted to track. And at the moment the team is just me. So let's add a story and bring this to life. very simply, just click the Add Story button. And what I can do is say, like, today we ran a trip to Belfast, and several people made friends with new people in the community. If I want to, I can attach a picture of that trip. Again, I'm using my co-founder's computer, so let's just use this picture for now, assuming that's the one that we did. So we ran this trip. I'll publish that, and what we have now on Makerble is a very basic story. So we ran this trip, that's the organisation, this is the project. And when I go now back to the project page, Trips for Elderly and Young People, it will show this story down here. Now, we haven't added any metrics to that, we're just collecting stories, but you can use Makerble in its simplest sense just to be collecting stories. But let's now go to the second level and think about metrics that we might want to add. So I might think about the activities that I'm running, and one of the things that we're doing might be trips. So let's see if trips is in the list that I can choose from. It's not, and so I'll create one. So here it's got make your own, and I'll add in trips run. And so now it's adding trips run to the database, and I can now go to trips. Let's just scroll down to that, trips run, and there we are, it's available for me to start tracking. And then what else will I want to track in terms of the number of people? I might want to track the number of attendees on those trips, so let's add that into attendees. Again, if it didn't exist, I can add that. And then let's keep it simple for now, but if you had outcomes you wanted to track, you could add those as well. So I'll press save, and now I can put in a goal or a target that I'm working towards. So let's say we run these trips once a year, so the target is 12 this year, and ideally the number of attendees that we want to work with, let's say we want 100 people to take part. But when we think about those 100 people, we actually want to split it by gender and by age. So on Makerble we can add gender as a group we want to split by, and let's also add in age, because we want to be knowing the different age splits of people who take part. I press save, and now it saves trips run and attendees to what Makerble calls the theory of change. Now I'll go back to my home, and the home is where you start off on Makerble for everything. Whenever you log in, this is where you arrive. You can see it's now updated with this story that I've logged. So trips is one of my projects, so it's listed here. Let's now say I want to log another story. I can press this button here, I can press this button here, or I can press make progress, add story. So we're always giving you easy ways to write a story. So I'll click make a story, and now because we'd chosen attendees as one of our metrics, it's listed on this form here. So let's say at today's trip we had 10 people who were there, and when we think about the split of those, 5 of them were under 18 and the other 5 were 40 plus. This is just one way of breaking down age. You can go into you can have whatever categories you want to have, but these are the ones that we've got on this particular project. If you want to change a category, you just click on make progress, make a category, and that then lets you change what these categories are. And then gender, let's say that this time we had 3 men and 7 women, and so those were the people who were there. And then trips run, well, this was just one trip that we did today, so I'll put that in. And the location of where this trip was Edinburgh. That's where we went. And I might want to save an anecdote of what happened, I might want to add a picture, or I might not. So in this instance, I'll actually leave that blank. Again, Makerble's creating a story, and because I put in a location this time, it's given me this map of where it took place. but it's also showing us that there are 10 attendees and there was a trip that was run. And it remembers that there was another project, another story that I published, and so that one is down here. You may have noticed on the right there's the ability to add comments, so when people look at your story they might want to ask a question. That can be done on the right hand side. So now we're beginning to capture some information. If we go back to our home, you can now see there's 2 stories in my overall newsfeed. And if we go to the project page itself, so every project has a page, you can now see we've had 1 trip that's been run and 10 attendees. Now with this story that we didn't add in the metrics for it. So let's say that was 1 trip to Edinburgh, this is another trip. I can edit this story to now start adding in metrics because now I've decided what my metrics are. So I'll click on Edit Story, and now I'm going to add in trips run because that's one of the metrics that we're now recording. So there it is, just down there, trips run, selected, and the attendees, we'll select that too. And let's say on that trip that we did to Belfast, let's say we had 15 attendees. I'm now going to add Belfast in as the location so that the system knows that it happened in Belfast. And for the attendees, let's again show the age. So let's say this time we had 10 that were under 18 and 5 that were over 40, and this time everybody was, so let's just select gender, let's say it was just women on this trip. So there we go, that's how we've edited that story. I'll press publish, and now you've got the age split and the gender split under the number of attendees as well as that metric. And when we go back to the project page, then we'll see that the number of trips has increased, it's now 2, and the number of attendees has grown. And you can see now that we've got these badges. So you're beginning to get a sense of how you can start using Makerble to very easily track your basic numbers. What if you were interested in understanding the difference you're making with the individual people that you're working with? That's where participants on Makerble come in. So you can very easily select the Make Progress and Make Participant button. When you press that, it enables you to add the details of someone who you're working with. So I'm going to add a few people. There is Doris Laney. She's one of the people who we're working with, and her birthday was this, and she's part of this project. If I want, I could even add in her address, but you don't need to. So that's Doris in the system. Now you might be thinking, if Doris is in the system, can other people see Doris's information? Well, this is your participants page, and what you can control is the access that people have to each participant. So it currently says that Doris has, anyone within the organisation can access Doris's details. If that's too much, you can very easily change that. So for Doris, I'm going to select only certain individuals. I'm going to put my name in there. Now what this means is that only I can, so let's just find me, there we go, because I've got 2 accounts on Makerble. I'm actually going to put in both of them just to be sure. But what that means is that now only I can access the details about Doris. Other people wouldn't be able to, so it's safe and secure. But let's now add a couple more. So add new participant, you could do that from here. Let's also put in Jim Break. I could attach a picture for these people, but I'm not going to. And actually, I'm not going to add a date of birth for Jim, but I could do. But let's say I've got his address, which is 19. Present. There we go. Let's choose an address there. It just uses Google Maps to pull the address together. And let's say I want to add in someone else, but before I add in this next person, I've realised there's additional information I want to capture about each person beyond just their name, date of birth. So what you can very easily do, I may have done that a bit too quickly, is go to Edit Participant Fields. And from here, you can choose additional fields that you want to start collecting for each participant that you're working with. So let's say that we also want to collect ethnicity. We can select that. And let's say we also want to collect gender. We'll select that. If there were other fields I wanted to select beyond those that are listed in this library, I could create one myself, but for the time being we'll just stick with those two, and you can see that ethnicity and gender have now been added to the list. So I'll click Save, and now when I want to create a new participant, so let's make this new one Max Graves, again a picture. I can now select his ethnicity from the ethnicities that we've got on the system, and I can select his gender, and again I'll add him to that project. And so now we've collected this information about these three people. Let's say now that I'm creating a story about, I don't know, not a trip that I did, but maybe it was something that happened with just Jim. We had a really good conversation. Then I can now add a note against Jim's record, just saying what's happening with him. So today Jim and I had a good mentoring discussion, and I feel that he is becoming a lot more confident and feels he can speak with people who are much older than him without thinking they won't be able to relate to him. So I can post that as a note, and that's saved to me, and I can post as many notes against Jim as I'd like. So that's how you can also have individuals recorded in the system. It's very easy to bring that together. So now when I go to my home, because I've been recording metrics, you can see these metrics are here, and this is what I've personally logged. I've got my newsfeed of the stories, and I've got the project that I'm part of, and if I actually click on my profile, then it shows me what I have personally done. So your profile is a bit like your Facebook profile. It's a timeline of everything that you've done. Now, what I can see is that in this system, it's just me. I haven't added colleagues. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to log out of this system and log into another one where I can show you what an account looks like when you've already added people to it. So let's just log out now, and then I'll log back in with my other account. Great, so this is another account that I'm using, and it's an account that's got a lot more examples in it, but it's still a big local demo account. What we can see here is a whole list of projects that my big local area is part of. And I just created those projects by just clicking this Make Project button and going through the process that you've already seen for looking at different projects. And you can see that I've been busy. Like, here's all the things that I've logged, and as you can see in my in the newsfeed, there's a whole lot of stories from different projects and actually from different big local areas potentially that I'm seeing. And you can choose who can view your stories, whether it's just people on your project, people in your big local area, or people across multiple big local areas. But this is what the system looks like when it's really come to life. And in terms of how you add people to a project, on every project you can click this shortcut and click on Manage Team. And here it shows you the people who are in your team on that project. So let's say you want to add someone else to that project. Then from the project page you just click Edit Team. And from the Edit Team button you can then add people either as editors or reporters. Editors are people who have permission to change the description, add other people, change the metrics, but reporters are people who are just there to write stories about what's happening. So I'll add in my other account, which was that Makerble 9, I'm going to add both just to be on the safe side, to the system. And now what that means is that my other account can then write stories. So that's how you can add your colleagues to your big local account. They just need to sign up to create their own big local account, and then they'll be listed on the system, and you can then start adding them. And what you can see at an organization level is when we go to more and click on organization performance, it shows you for your big local area all of the projects that you run, where it is that you've tagged them in the world or in the country. So here are 6 of the projects that we're running. And what Makerble brings together is all of the progress that's been logged so far, outputs, outcomes, and all of the stories that have happened, that have been logged. It shows you all of that data, as well as any pictures and videos that have been collected over the course of using the system. And it shows you the profile pages of all the people on your team who have been writing stories. So Ed, if I click on his profile, then it shows me that he's written 2 stories and there's been 12 impacts made, 9 plus 3. And I can see the projects that he's part of, and I can see the different, well, the big local area that he's part of. If he was part of several, if he was a rep, for example, there might be several things there. And these are the stories that he's logged. So I'm getting a sense of who he is, but if I want more information, I could follow him, which would mean that then I'd get updates from Ed in my newsfeed, or I could even send him a direct message, maybe asking for advice on how he achieved a certain thing in his particular project. There's a lot more that Makerble can do, but I hope that that gives you a good picture for how you as a big local area can use it to start keeping track of the difference that you're making. It's very easy to use, and the team is on hand to help you should you ever get stuck or need help. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to being in touch with you. Take a look in our details, which are just in the YouTube description below this video, and get in touch, and we'll be right back to you. Have a great Christmas. Take care.